Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian POV. I'm Peyton, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So, in today's POV, the Pleiadians wanted to chat with us about how our intuitive abilities are coming online. And this is something that a lot of us as starseeds and lightworkers are super excited about. We all want to get in touch with our clairvoyance, our psychic abilities, our telepathy, all those things that we thought were science fiction, and we're now realizing are actually natural human abilities. But before we jump into talking about our intuitive abilities, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. So the P's wanted to talk to us today about something really exciting, and that is, as we are getting bombarded by these very intense planetary energies, if y'all have seen the Schumann, it has been blacking out and off the charts. Solar energy has been blasting away at us. And one of the side effects of all of these very high frequency energies bombarding our planet is it is starting to activate our multidimensional abilities. Now, what are multidimensional abilities? Well, sometimes we call them our psychic abilities. Sometimes we call them our intuitive abilities. These are those things that we always thought were kind of fictional, but now we're realizing we can all do it. We can all be clairvoyant. We can all be psychic. We can all be telepathic. This is how humans were actually designed to operate. We've just forgotten. So, what is happening as we go through this elevation of planetary energies that has been so fun for our physical bodies is our multidimensional abilities are getting activated in everyone. This used to be something that we would think only special people could do this. But guess what? You're special too. So, this is something that all humans can do in some form or fashion. So the P's wanted to talk to us a little bit about how this actually looks. Because when most of us think about talking with our spirit guides or connecting with our star family, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what this actually looks like and how it actually works. So the P's are going to shine a light today on some of the misunderstandings that we have about this so that you don't miss out on the opening of your abilities. Now, one of the first things that we get a little confused about as humans when we think about opening up to higher dimensional communication is we think it's going to look like human communication. We think that we are going to get answers to our questions immediately, that the answers are going to be loud and clear and in English. And guess what? None of that happens for most people. So the way that this communication starts for most of us is very subtle. So when we first start to reach out to our guides, our star family, they start to work with our body. So if we are asking questions in meditation and wanting answers from our higher self, our guides, our star family, we are generally not going to get verbal answers. We are not going to get complete sentences, long paragraphs, as much as we would love that. Instead, we are going to get answers through sensation in the body. So our guides will start by calibrating our energy. They will start to work with our energy channels, get some of the blocks moving again, and start to tune our bodies to higher energies. So when you first start this process, one of the first things you may want to look for is sensation in the body. You may notice that your foot always starts to itch, or that your eyelid starts to twitch, or that you get a sense of pressure or sensation somewhere in the body. You may also notice flashes of light behind your eyes. And another big one is you may notice ringing or buzzing or static in your ears. These are all signs that we are opening up our abilities. Now, another thing that is very important for us if we are interested in doing this, starting to be able to communicate with higher dimensional beings, whether that's your higher self, your guides, your star family, it's all the same process. The next thing that is very, very important is that we get out of the mind. And of course, we are humans, so we live in the mind. But here's the thing, y'all. The mind is our 3D operating system. It is designed to block out just this kind of communication. So if we are in the ego mind, asking questions, thinking, trying to do this, guess what? The ego mind is going to block out the answer. Your guides may be giving you the most beautiful answers in the world, and you're not going to hear them. I used to ask the P's when I was first starting, why could I not hear them for so long? And what they told me is, we were always talking to you, but your mind was talking over us. So we have to be out of the ego mind. And what does that mean? Well, you've heard the P's say this about 100 times. You've got to be in your heart. The heart is the 5D operating system. It is our connection to the higher realms. So we have to be anchored in our heart to hear the answer. My guides always like to say, your guides are talking to you 24/7. Most of you just can't hear it. And the reason we can't is we are not anchored in the heart. So the P's have taught in countless videos how to anchor your consciousness in your heart. So if you are wanting to open or expand communication with your team, this is something that is very important to master, this process of anchoring in your heart. Now, something else that can trip up a lot of people when they first start to open their abilities is that we have natural human expectations. We expect that answers are going to be clear. They are going to be on point. And in fact, when our guides first start to answer us, the answers are usually so subtle that we miss them. So our guides are never going to shout the answers at us. And one of my teachers used to laugh at me because she would watch me trying to open my abilities and she'd say, Peyton, it is not going to sound like the voice of God booming in your head. And boy, was she right. So when we are asking questions and trying to establish a connection with our team, our guides, our star family, expect the answer to be very subtle. It is going to be so quiet, you think you imagined it. So if you are getting loud, shouty, verbal answers, you're talking to your ego mind. So that is one of the traps of this process, is that the ego mind is going to want to play. So one of the most challenging things about opening our abilities is getting the ego mind out of it. So very important if you are starting to open your abilities to understand that at first, the answers will be very, very faint. So faint you think you missed it, that you imagined it, that it was just a flicker of your imagination. That is when you're probably getting the answer. So again, the louder, the more vibrant, the more explosive the answer seems to be, the more that is an indicator that the ego mind has hijacked the process. And then another thing that the P's wanted to bring to our attention for those of us who are working to activate these abilities is that we tend to question what we get. That we get the answer and then we kick it over into the brain and go, is that right? Did I really hear that? And we start to question it. Once we do that, we have gotten back in the mind. So one thing this can be very helpful as you're starting to develop your abilities is one of the pieces of advice that my teachers used to give me, which is trust what you get. As long as you are seated in your heart, and again, that is the key. If you are seated in your heart, you will be getting accurate information. If you are in the mind, you will be getting distorted information. So very, very important to know where your consciousness is seated as you start to open your abilities. So the P's just wanted to chat with us a little bit to help us understand what multidimensional communication actually looks like, how it actually starts to come online. Because as humans, we just naturally think it's going to be like human communication. Loud, direct, real time. And none of that holds true when we start to communicate with beings in other dimensions. And one other last little thing that can be helpful to remember is that when you are starting to communicate with your guides and you start to ask questions in meditation, is that there's often a time delay to the answer. So because, again, the human mind interferes, a lot of times it will take your guides a day or two afterwards to be able to get the answer through to you. You may be driving in your car 2 days later, and the answer will just come to you. And it's not that you weren't getting it when you asked the question. It just had to work its way through the egoic structure. So whenever I am coaching people and teaching them how to do this, one of the best pieces of advice is expect a delayed response, because it's very common that it will take your guides some time to get the answer through to you. They have to break through all of your human defenses. And a lot of times that just takes a day or two for the information to kind of percolate its way into your mind. So be prepared for it to be very slow, for it to be very subtle, for it to be very faint. And that's one of the best ways to approach guide communication. The more you try to force it or make it happen, the more you create resistance, which blocks it out. So those are just a few little pointers that the P's had for us because they see so many light workers and starseeds are really wanting to start to connect with their guides and their star family. And so just knowing a little bit more about what the process actually looks like can save you a lot of frustration. Another thing that can be really helpful in this process is getting formal training. It can take years off your learning curve. And so if I can help you with that, click the link in the description to work one-on-one with me and the P's. They are masters at teaching people how to do this because you don't want to spend years thinking that you are talking to your guides and your higher self, only to find out you were talking to your ego mind the entire time. So training can be very helpful here. So that is what the P's had for you in today's video. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.